Hi, welcome to another edition of That's a Good Cup of Joe, special edition. First, before I get started, my video from yesterday regarding reading the Declaration of Independence, I made a mistake when I said that Donald Trump had the Constitution hanging up in his office at the White House, and it was actually the Declaration of Independence, which happened to have been what we were covering. So I just wanted to say that out loud, so I own it. But yeah, but still, in the end, I still don't believe he still read it. So that's there. So a lot's happened. Today, the Supreme Court was listening to the Trump's wanting to do away with birthright citizenship for undocumented migrants and those who are here illegally, because they don't want their children to be able to become citizens if their parents are here illegally. And with that, stripping away. So, of course, it's basically talking about, if judges are able to enact orders against the president if they find that he's doing something unlawful or unconstitutional, and that whatever that he was looking to do, they can do it span the entire country, instead of what they would prefer, to have every single individual have to go to court themselves to advocate on their own behalf, instead of one judge leveling a decision to squash it until it's litigated all the way out to the Supreme Court. So that's what that's being said. But even that is a slippery slope, because if you do it, for one, Trump has this thing that if you do it for one, he can do it for everybody. So those of us who are actual birth citizens, and many generations in my family were born here, what's to say that they turn around if the Supreme Court says that they can do it for illegal undocumented people and their children can't be citizens? What's the whole thing about them saying that regular citizens, they can regulate who is a citizen, who's not? It's a slippery slope. So hopefully the Supreme Court can at least get this right, because they fucked up with the immunity thing. So now he's unbridled in his power right now. So with that being said, we're here to continue our pilgrimage through the Constitution. And like I said yesterday, we started off with the Declaration of Independence, which was the notice to the British government, the British king, right, England, that they were breaking ties. And, we're going to live our own life. It's our lives. It's now or never. Thank you, Bon Jovi. So now what we're going to do is start off with the Articles of the Confederation, because before the Constitution as we know it today, they first had the Articles of the Confederation to start it all. So let's begin with the Articles of the Confederation. Okay? So, Articles of the Confederation, 1777. To all to whom these presents shall come, we, the undersigned delegates of the states affixed to our names, send greetings. Whereas the delegates of the United States of America in Congress assembled did on the 15th day of November in the year of our Lord 1777, and in the second year of the independence of America, agree to certain articles of confederation and perpetual union between the states of New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, and Providence Plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, in the words following, viz., Articles of Confederation and perpetual union between the states of New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, and Providence plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Well, I guess they have to reiterate that just to, put a stamp on it. Okay? So, Article 1. The still of this Confederacy shall be the United States of America. So there you go. That was the establishment of what our country was to be. So we're officially known at this moment with the first article of the Confederacy, the United States of America. And we continue on. Article 2. Each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right, which is not by the Confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress assembled. Article 3. The said states hereby severally enter into a firm league of friendship with each other for their common defense, the security of their liberties, and their mutual and general welfare, binding themselves to assist each other against all forces offered to, or attacks made upon them, or any of them, on account of religion, sovereignty, trade, or any other pretense whatsoever. So, wow. Let me read that again. Article 3. The said states hereby severely enter into a firm league of friendship with each other for their common defense, the security of their liberties, and their mutual and general welfare, binding themselves to assist each other against all force offered to, or attacks made upon them, or any of them, on the account of religion, sovereignty, trade, or any other pretense whatsoever. So if I read that right, so they would come together and protect each other. If somebody comes and attacks them, claiming religion, sovereignty, trade, or any other pretense whatsoever. So this idea of a religious state that's really happening now with this Christian nationalism, in the Confederacy, they voted against that. Because, the kings, they were very, they were very indoctrinated in that God bestowed them their ability and power. And there was a lot of religion feeding a lot of things back then. So, that's Article 3. So, they work together to protect themselves from those who wish to inflict harm. It's a cool thing. Article 4. The better to secure and perpetuate mutual friendship and intercourse among the people of the different states in this union. The free inhabitants of each of these states, paupers, vagabonds, and fugitives from justice excepted, shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of free citizens in the several states. And the people of each state shall have free ingress and regress to, and from any other state, shall enjoy therein all the privileges of trade and commerce, subject to the same duties, impositions, and restrictions as the inhabitants thereof respectively, provided that each restriction shall not extend so far as to prevent the removal of property imported into any state, to any other state of which the owner is the inhabitant, provided also that no imposition, duties, or restrictions shall be laid by any state on the property of the United States or either of them. If any person guilty of or charged with treason, felony, or any other high misdemeanor in any state shall flee from justice and be found in any other of the United States, He shall, upon demand of the governor or executive power of the state from which he fled, be delivered up and removed to the state having jurisdiction of this offense. Full faith and credit shall be given in each of these states to the records, acts, and judicial proceedings of the courts and magistrates of every other state. So, if you break a law in one state, and the governor says we want him back so that we can prosecute, then the other state will say, hey, take him back. Okay. So, there's a lot loaded there. And just remember, a lot of this right here basically refer to slaves. So in that way, they get their slaves back. Okay. Article 5. For the most convenient management of the general interests of the United States, delegates shall be annually appointed in such a manner as the legislatures of each state shall direct, to meet in Congress on the first Monday in November in every year, with the power reserved to each state to call its delegates, and any of them at any time within the year, and to send others in their stead for the remainder of the year. No state shall be represented in Congress by less than 2 or more than 7 members, and no person shall be capable of being a delegate for more than 3 years, in any term of 6 years. Nor shall any person being a delegate be capable of holding any office under the United States for which he or another for his benefit receive a salary, fees, or emolument of any kind. Each state shall maintain its own delegates in a meeting of the states, and while they act as members of the committee of the states, in determining questions in the state in Congress assembled, each state shall have 1 vote. Freedom of speech and debate in Congress shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or placed out of Congress, and the members of Congress shall be protected in their persons from arrest or imprisonment during the time of their going to and from and attendance on Congress, except for treason, felony, and breach of peace. Now, if I read that right, no state shall be represented in Congress by less than 2 and no more than 7 members, and no person shall be capable of being a delegate for more than 3 years in a term of 6 years. Nor shall any person being a delegate be capable of holding any office under the United States which he or she or another of his own receives a salary, fees. So if I read that right, there was a cap on how long you can serve. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But that's what it sounds like, that there was a cap of your service in the amount of years, which I think would have been a great thing, right? All right. Article 6. No state, without the consent of the United States in Congress assembled, shall send any embassy to, or receive any embassy from, or enter into any conference, agreement, alliance, or treaty with any king, prince, or state, nor shall any person holding any office of profit or trust under the United States, or any of them, accept any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state, nor shall the United States in Congress assemble, or any of them grant any title of nobility. No 2 or more states shall enter into any treaty, confederation, or alliance whatever between them without the consent of the United States in Congress assembled, specifically, accurately, the purpose for which the same is to be entered into, and how long it shall continue. No state shall lay any impost of duties which may interfere with any stipulations in treaties entered into by the United States in Congress assembled with any king, prince, or state in pursuance of any treaties already imposed by Congress to the courts of France and Spain. No vessel of war shall be kept up in time of peace by any state, except such numbers only as shall be deemed necessary by the United States in Congress assembled, for the defense of each state or its trade, nor shall any body of forces be kept upon by any state in time of peace, except such number only as the judgment of the United States in Congress assembled shall be deemed requisite to garrison the forts necessary for the defense of each state. But every state shall always keep up a well-regulated and disciplined militia, sufficiently armed and accoutred, and shall provide constantly have ready for use in public stores a due number of field pieces and tents, and a proper quantity of armed ammunition and camp equipage. No state shall engage in any war without the consent of the United States in Congress assembled, unless each state be actually invaded by enemies, or shall have received certain advice of a resolution being formed by some nation of Indians to invade each state, and the danger is so imminent as not to admit of the delay until the United States of Congress is assembled can be consulted. Nor shall any state grant commissions on any ships or vessels of war, nor letters of marque or reprisal, except to be after a declaration of war by the United States in Congress assembled, and then only against the kingdom of the state, the kingdom of or state, and the subjects thereof, against which war has been so declared, and under such regulations as shall be established by the United States in Congress assembled, unless such state be infested by pirates, in which case vessels of war may be fitted out for the occasion and kept so long as the danger shall continue, or until the United States in Congress assembled shall be determined otherwise. So, protect, arm your citizens, right? And a well-regulated and disciplined militia, right? The armies, citizens be able to get together and create a defense to fight against enemies, right? But there, in the event that Congress can't be assembled, the governors, I guess, who are able to gather these forces to protect themselves. So, at least that's what I get. That's what I get from these things. Like I said, like I've always said, I'm not college educated. I'm just I read through things, and I think I use my best judgment to determine how I interpret these things. And I like to think that, we all use our common sense when looking at this stuff to see exactly how we understand them to be. So this is how I feel. Now, if I'm wrong, please chime in, let me know, so that I can learn even more. So, Article 7. When land forces are raised by a state for the common defense, all officers of or under the rank of colonel shall be appointed by the legislature of each state respectively, by whom such forces shall be raised, or in such manner as such state shall direct, and all vacancies shall be filled up by the state which first made the appointment. Okay, all right. Article 8. As charges of war and all other expenses that shall be incurred for the common defense and general welfare, and allowed by the United States in Congress assembled, shall be defrayed out of the common treasury, which shall be supplied by several states in proportion to the value of all land within each state, granted or surveyed for any person, and such land and the buildings and improvements thereon shall be estimated according to such mode as the United States in Congress assembled shall from time to time direct and appoint. Taxes for paying that proportion shall be laid and levied by the authority and direction of the legislators of the several states within the time agreed upon by the United States in Congress assembled. So taxation, right? Taxes. So that you can fund the new government that's being there and protect. Because what we've read so far has to deal with raising an army to protect the country. And I guess this is because of, since they declared that, independence from England, they have to make sure they have the ability to protect themselves if they're attacked by someone, by the king, which led to the Revolutionary War and all that stuff, right? So there you go. All right. Article 9. The United States in Congress assembled shall have the sole and exclusive right and power of determining on peace and war, except in the cases mentioned in the 6th article, of sending and receiving ambassadors, entering into treaties and alliances, provide that no treaty of commerce shall be made whereby the legislative power of the respective states shall be restrained from imposing such imposts and duties on foreigners as their own people are subjected to, or from prohibiting the exportation of importation of any spices of goods or commodities whatsoever, of establishing rules for deciding in all cases what captures on land and or water shall be legal, and in what manner prizes taken by land or naval forces in the service of the United States shall be divided and appropriated, of granting letters of marque and reprisal in times of peace, appointing courts for the trial of piracies and felonies committed on the high seas, and establishing courts for receiving and determining finally appeals in all cases of captures, provided that no member of Congress shall be appointed a judge of any of the said courts. The United States in Congress assembled shall also be the last resort on appeal in all disputes and differences by subsitting, or to hereafter may arise between two or more states concerning boundary, jurisdiction, or any other causes whatsoever, which authority shall always be exercised in the manner following: whenever the legislative or executive authority or lawful agent of each state in controversy with another shall present a petition to Congress stating the matter in question and praying for a hearing, notice thereof shall be given by order of Congress to the legislative or executive authority of the other state in controversy, and a day assigned for the appearance of the treaty of the parties by their lawful agents, who shall then be directed to appoint by joint consent commissioners or judges to constitute a court for hearings and determining the matter in question. But if they cannot agree, Congress shall name 3 persons out of each of the United States, and from the list of such persons each party shall alternatively strike out 1, the petitioners beginning, until the number shall be reduced to 13, and from that number not less than 7, no more than 9 names as Congress shall in the presence of Congress be drawn out by lot, and the person whose name shall be so drawn, or any 5 of them, shall be commissioners or judges, to hear and finally determine the controversy, so always as a manner part of the judges who shall hear the cases shall agree in a determination if either party shall neglect to attend on the day appointed, without showing reason, such Congress shall judge sufficient, or being present, shall refuse to strike, the Congress shall proceed to nominate 3 persons out of each state, and the Secretary of Congress shall strike in behalf of such party absent or refusing, and the judgment and sentence in the court shall be appointed in the manner before prescribed shall be final and conclusive, and if any of the parties shall refuse to submit to the authority of such court, or to appear or defend their claim or cause, the court shall nevertheless proceed to pronounce sentence or judgment, which shall in like manner be final and decisive, the judgment or sentence of other proceedings being in either case transmitted to Congress and logged among the acts of Congress for the security of the parties concerned, provided that every commissioner before he sits in judgment shall take an oath to be administered by one of the judges of the Supreme and Superior Court of the state, where the causes shall be tried, well and truly to hear and determine the matter in question, according to the best of his judgment, without favor affection, or hope of reward, provide also that no state shall be deprived of territory for the benefit of the United States. All controversies concerning the private right of soil claim under the different grants of two or more states, whose generation, as they may respect such lands, and the states which pass such grants, are adjusted. The said grants of either of them being at the same time claimed to have originated antecedent to such settlement of jurisdiction, shall, on the petition of either party to the Congress of the United States, be finally determined as near as may be in the same manner as in before prescribed for deciding disputes respecting territorial jurisdiction between the different states. The United States in Congress assembled shall also have the sole and exclusive right and power of regulating the alloy in value of coins struck by their own authority or by that of the respective states, fixing the standards of weights and measures throughout the United States, regulating the trade, and managing all affairs with the Indians not members of any of the states, provided that the legislative right of any state within its own limits be not infringed or violated, establishing or regulating post office from one state to another throughout all of the United States, and exacting such postage on the papers passing through the same, and may be requisite to defray the expenses of the said offices, appointing all officers of the land forces and the services of the United States, excepting regimental officers, appointing all of the officers of the naval forces, and commissioning all officers whatever in the service of the United States, making rules for the government and the regulation of the said land and naval forces, and directing their operations. The United States in Congress assembled shall have the authority to appoint a committee to sit in the recess of Congress, to be denominated a committee of the states, and to consist of one delegate of each state, and to appoint such another committees and civil officers as may be necessary for managing the general affairs of the United States, under their direction, to appoint one of their numbers to preside, provided that no person be allowed to serve in the office of president more than 1 year in any term of 3 years, to ascertain the necessary sums of money to be raised for the service of the United States, and to appropriate and apply the same for defraying the public expenses, to borrow money or emit bills on the credit of the United States, transmitting every half year to respective states on account of the sums of money so borrowed or emitted, to build and equip a navy, to agree upon the number of land forces, and to make requisitions from each state for its quota, in proportion to the number of white inhabitants in each state, which requisition shall be binding, and thereupon the legislator of each state shall appoint the regimental officers, raise the men, and cloth, arm and equip them in a solid like manner, at the expense of the United States, and the officers and the men so clothed, armed and equipped, shall march to the place appointed, and there within the time agreed on by the United States in Congress assembled. But if the states in Congress, the United States in Congress, let me read that again. But if the United States in Congress assembled shall, on consideration of circumstances, judge proper that any state shall not raise men, or shall raise a small number of men than the quota thereof, such extra numbers shall be raised, officered, clothed, and armed, and equipped in the same manner as the quota of each state, unless a legislator of such state shall judge that such extra number cannot be safely spread out in the same, in which case they shall raise officer, clothed, armed, and equipped as many of such extra number as they judge can be safely spared. And the officers and men so clothed, armed, and equipped shall march to the place appointed, and within the time agreed on by the United States of the Congress assembled. The United States in Congress assembled shall never engage in a war, nor grant letters of marque or reprisal in time of peace, nor enter into any treaties or alliances, nor coin money, nor regulate the value thereof, nor ascertain the sums and expenses necessary for the defense and welfare of the United States, or any of them, nor emit bills, nor borrow money, or the credit of the United States, on the credit of the United States, nor appropriate money, nor agree upon the number of vessels of war to be built or purchased, or the number of land or seas forces to be raised, nor appoint a commander-in-chief of the army or navy, unless 9 states assent to the same, nor shall in question on any other point, except for adjourning from day to day, be determined unless by the votes of the majority of the United States in Congress assembled. The Congress of the United States shall have power to adjourn at any time within the year, and to any place within the United States, so that no period of adjournment be for a longer duration than the space of 6 months, and shall publish a journal for their proceedings monthly, except such parts thereof relating to treaties, alliances, or military operations as in their judgment require secrecy, and the yeas and nays of the delegates of each state on any question shall be entered into the journal, when it is the desire of any delegates of a state, and any of them, at his and their request, shall be furnished with a transcript of the said journal, except such parts as there above accepted, to lay upon the legislators of the several states. Wow, that was a mouthful. But you can see a lot happening there. And getting this far when they actually said white men. I was kind of floored there when I read that. That was the first time I heard them regulate that or state that. But remember, slave, right? They established how they wanted their military, right? White men. And maybe that's pretty much what Donald Trump has Hegseth doing right now. We want to make sure that white men are serving in our military. Think about the Confederate Army, Confederacy. Maybe they're going back in time before the Constitution to establish what it is they want to do, with the purging in the military officials of women and black leaders. Boy. Okay, Article 10. The Committee of the States, or any 9 of them, shall be authorized to execute in the recesses of Congress such as the power of Congress as the United States and Congress assembled, by the consent of the 9 states, shall from time to time think expedient to vest them with, provided that no power be delegated to the said committee, for the exercise of which, by the Articles of Confederation, the voice of 9 states in Congress of the United States assembled be requisite. All right. Article 11. Canada, ascending to this confederation and adjoining in the measures of the United States, shall be admitted into and entitled to all the advantages of this union, but no other colony shall be admitted into the same unless such admission be agreed on by the 9 states. Did I read that right? Article 11. Canada, acceding to this confederation and adjoining in the measures of the United States, shall be admitted into and entitled to all the advantages of this union, but no other colony shall be admitted into the same unless such admission to be agreed to by the 9 states. Is this why Donald Trump is talking about making Canada the 51st state? They're looking for a pathway to merge Canada and the United States. Remember, Canada is still connected to Britain. We, through the Declaration of Independence, separated ourselves from Britain, the King of England. But they still held power in Canada. So maybe they were looking for an avenue to break Canada free from the British monarchy. And that's what Donald Trump is speaking on when he keeps talking about making Canada the 51st state. Huh. I never saw this one coming. I've never read this before. This is the first time, me talking to you right now, this is the first time I'm reading this. I've never known this. And maybe in a way, this is why Congress isn't kicking them back a lot in regards to this Canada thing. And that's why Donald Trump is a little snarky when he is going after Canada. Holy shit. Okay. Article 12. All bills of credit emitted, monies borrowed, and debts contracted by or under the authority of Congress before the assembling of the United States in pursuance of the present Confederation shall be deemed and considered as a charge against the United States for payment and satisfaction whereof the said United States and the public faith are hereby solemnly pledged. Okay. Article 13. Every state shall abide by the determination of the United States in Congress assembled on all questions which by this Confederation be submitted to them, and the articles of this Confederation shall be inviolably observed by each state, and the Union shall be perpetual, nor shall any alteration of at any time hereafter be made in any of them, unless such alteration is agreed to in a Congress of the United States and be afterwards confirmed by the legislators of each state. And whereas it hath pleased the great governor of the world be inclined the hearts of the legislators we respectively represent in Congress to approve of and to authorize us to ratify the said articles of the Confederation and perpetual union. Know ye that we, the undersigned delegates, by virtue of the power and authority to give to us, given for the purpose, do by these presents, in the name and in behalf of our respective constituents, fully and entirely ratify and confirm each and every of the said articles of the Confederation and perpetual union, and all and singular the matters of things hereon contained. And we do further solemnly plight and engage the faith of our respective constituents, that they shall abide by the determinations of the United States in Congress assembled on all questions which, by the said Confederation, are submitted to them, and the articles thereof shall be inviolably observed by the states we respectively represent, and that the Union shall be perpetual. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hands in Congress, done at Philadelphia, in the state of Pennsylvania, the 9th day of July, in the year of our Lord, 1778, and in the 3rd year of the independence of America. Wow. That's a lot. So a lot went into setting up the United States. So it took 3 years for them to get the Confederation done. I gotta tell you, some things are clicking right now. Rand Paul, he speaks of the Confederation a lot. When I remember hearing mention him about the Confederation, the original Constitution of the the Articles of the Confederation. I remember him mentioning it quite a few. I've never really thought about it until now, in regards to what's happening with Donald Trump and what he's doing. And in reading it, I'm starting to connect the dots, as it were, to see the picture. And the Constitution, which we will cover, fleshed out what was first laid out here. Because remember, the United States of America was designated through the Confederation, the Articles of the Confederation. And they did a lot about establishing the war powers of, what to do in case something, and to regulate commerce, and, and it just a lot. And as you read through it, you start to understand exactly what it took to create this world we have. And even the mention of white soldiers when they wanted to build their armies, you can begin to see why the racial thing, the fear of losing something, losing their power. You can see it by reading this. There's a lot of meat on these bones. And I'm eager to get to the Constitution itself, but there is a part of it that there's a lot of material that went into it before the actual Constitution. And that is the Federalist Papers. Now, I keep trying to remember how my schooling went. If I remember discussing the Federalist Papers, I mean, it probably was mentioned in social studies class when we talk about the America and all that stuff and the creation of the government and everything. But I gotta believe that it wasn't really delved into, because I got the feeling that the cerebral impact of those documents would have been too much for school. So I think their constitutional law, which is done in colleges, was probably where they really went into the meat and potatoes of the Federalist Papers. But we're going to get through it, because understanding that would lay the foundation for what was built from the Constitution. And that will be the heavy lift. So thank you for joining me. I hope you got a little bit of peace. And you know what? Get your copy. Get your copy. Every American should have a copy. You see this? Every American should have a copy of this. We shouldn't just rely on what other people say, what other people do, how they explain these things. As an American citizen, it is our constitutionally right to understand this, to be engaged, to fight for the country that we've lived in all our lives, and to believe that in the principles that it have within it, that we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I challenge you, get your copy of the Constitution, America. Get it. Read it. Take a Sunday. Lay on your lounge chair. Go to the park. Watch your kids play. Because as you watch them play and you read this, I'm sure you will begin to see them in a different light. Because I know just reading right now and understanding what I do know, what I've read so far, I see the promise of what was being brought together. They broke away from a king. A king. And I'm telling you, America, we cannot go back. There are no kings. Because reading through this, the people will have the power of say so. So, thank you for joining me. We'll be right back as we start the Federalist Papers. And this is today's Good Cup of Joe.